Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the full moon on August 11th and 12th, Thursday and Friday of 2022. All right, so we have a full moon in Capricorn. If you're expecting me to say Aquarius just then, be sure to check out the link down below for more information. We are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology, and the signs do change. So full moon in Capricorn, the status check part of the lunar month. Great for making shifts and changes along our life path. And I would say not only in the lunar sense, but also in the yearly sense as well. Because this full moon is the entry of the halfway point between the nodes, between the eclipse season. So 3 months ago, we had the eclipses. And in about 3 months from now, we'll have the next set of eclipses. And so this marks the halfway point of our life path changes, specifically in regards to anything we started about 3 months ago. Okay, so in this case, Capricorn the Sea Goat is about patience. It is about thinking long term. It is grounding where the sun is in Leo here with it. So still, focusing on self-expression and what gives us energy and playfulness. But Capricorn is all about patience, persistence, perseverance, thinking long term with things. And so it is a great time to do a status check with that side of ourself. How's it going? How can we further develop it along our life journey? And this is double emphasized because the full moon will be conjunct Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, and very much doubling that energy there. Okay, now the full moon is leaning towards the more challenging side collectively, but this just means that it's a great full moon to, again, challenge ourselves, make these shifts and changes. And in this case, it's going to be squaring up to the Mars-Uranus conjunction that we really had exact last week. Okay, and so last week, Mars, the planet of fire, got close to Uranus, the planet of change and erratic energy. And so if there was any new energy around fire, initiative, assertiveness, or freedom and change, this is what we can now work on constructively, hopefully with the square, build it constructively, and in this way have change, have freedom, have more individual self-expression, more healthy assertiveness, right? All this very constructive moving forward as well. Okay, so also a sextile to Chiron, minor, we'll talk about. So let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the chart for the full moon. Let me actually go ahead and set this around Aries so it is easier to see here. Yep, here we go. So full moon, which will be on Thursday and Friday, August 11th and 12th of 2022. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky, the uneven constellations. And so if you're wondering why the full moon's not in Aquarius, or how can the sun be in Leo and the moon in Capricorn, which are not opposite in the traditional mainstream chart? Well, for all this information, definitely check out the link down below. We are using what's called true sidereal astrology, which is essentially the visible sky. And this is how it appears in the visible sky. And this part of Leo is opposite Capricorn in the chart. So check out the link down below if you are new to this form of astrology. Okay, so full moon, status check, right? And by the way, the time will be around 11 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas, depending on where you are in the world. You can make that calculation. But again, for all intents and purposes, we'll be certainly feeling it both days here, Thursday and Friday. So again, around 11 p.m. Is it 11 or did I? No, excuse me, 9 p.m. Sorry, 9 p.m. around Eastern time of the Americas on the 11th, on Thursday the 11th. And we are using topocentric, which is the surface of the Earth, so this exact time will change even within the same time zone. So it depends on where you are specifically for the exact time, but again, for all intents and purposes here. Okay, so what we have here is most fundamentally the halfway point of the lunar month, which entails the highest energy of the lunar month. We have those, the sun in its peak position. We have the sun's energy bouncing off of the moon. And so, it is that heightened energy of the lunar cycle. And what this typically suggests is that we're gaining awareness. Again, the light bouncing off the feminine or the receptive moon, right? So the spiritual, let's say, or just the more fiery elements of the sun bouncing off of the more internally spiritual, the more, soul. You have the spirit and the soul kind of a thing. And so that's spirit energy bouncing off the soul, illuminating both. And so in this case, it is really good to do a status check with full moons, because we do gain this insight, we do gain this awareness, and from that, we likely, and it's a good time, to make shifts and changes, okay? To do some harvesting, what is maybe cultivated over the past couple weeks, what are we now becoming aware of, that we can make some shifts and changes to further develop the energy. And so in this case, it is involving Capricorn, the sea goat. How can we take time with things? How can we think long term, be more patient, be more persevering, right? And perhaps even quite literally doing a status check on the things that we have been building this year, okay, for specifically in this case the past 6 months since we had the last lunar cycle start in Capricorn, okay, since 6 months ago in this context. And also maybe doing a status check on our structures. Both Capricorn and Saturn are about the structures we build in our life. Sometimes you might generalize it as our achievements or our career, our productive life, but really anything we've been building, because really wherever you have Capricorn in your own chart determines what this status check is really about for you. And so if you do want to check to see where Capricorn is in your chart, which area is it in the 7th house of relationships? Is it in the home sector, right? That's where those foundations are certainly being built, where the patience is needed at this time. And again, what we're doing a status check with. So there's a birth chart calculator. You can check that out in the description down below. Or if you're on the website, you can check that out up on the links above under charts. But, but generally speaking, collectively speaking, this is about developing the patience, persistence, discipline, responsibility. And again, doing a status check to see how is that side of ourselves, right? And are there some shifts and changes we can make to further develop that for the next 2 weeks of the cycle, but we could also argue for the remainder of the year or the next 6 months being the halfway point of the solar cycle, again with Capricorn. Okay, but this is also a uniquely important full moon because it is the halfway point between the eclipse cycles, between when we have the new and full moons next to the north and south nodes, the life path parts of the chart. Okay, and so these are the eclipses. And so that was roughly about 3 months ago when we had those eclipses. And that's usually an important time of making shifts and changes along our life journey, along our life path. And so now it's the halfway point of that. So thinking in the context of the past 3 months, were there new perspectives you've had since then? Maybe quite literally new things you've been implementing into your life? What shifted? What new started about 3 months ago? Maybe in the context of getting more fire in your life. The North Node in Aries right now is about assertiveness, cultivating assertiveness, independence, right? Fiery energy. Balancing that though with South Node in Libra, which is about tactfulness, relating, right? Seeing eye to eye, two sides of the coin, right? And so that maintains balance there when we are anchored into wanting to relate and see eye to eye and do what's right, but also what's right for us and what we want, our assertiveness, and find the middle ground between the two, because they're really the same thing. What's actually good for us is actually good for other, and vice versa. Because sometimes things appear to be good for us or other, but it's not. But the things that actually are balanced here. So this kind of a thing, okay, if it's in that context. But fundamentally, again, 3 months ago, shifts and changes. Now it is the integration, all right? So the halfway point of that cycle is a square, okay? And we can see the square very clearly because Uranus is, well, in this case, the North Node has been close to Uranus, who's been in Aries. And last week we had Mars pass over this, okay? So, squares are about integration, challenging ourselves. And typically they're just seen as challenging aspects, but it's really just that we want to challenge ourselves. How can we constructively implement this energy? And so in this case, the energy of our life path that perhaps shifted 3 months ago, and now more specifically where Mars and Uranus are, which is that last week when these planets went conjunct. there was likely a new development of this fiery energy. Assertiveness, independence, taking action in our life in a way that's probably geared towards more freedom or change, which is the Uranus, helping us shake this up, connect to this fiery side. And so now there's an integration, a bit of a challenge to integrate that into these structures, into these long-term things we could be building in our life, and into our self-expression with the Sun in Leo, I'll talk more about in a moment. But fundamentally to integrate, to challenge ourselves, to have healthy independence, healthy assertiveness, healthy action, healthy drive in a way that has healthy freedom and change. And still listening to our true self, and so listening to our excitement, but constructively, because the squares can tend towards the imbalances where it can be a little bit over or under extreme. With Uranus and Mars, erratic or impulsive or, sudden or too extreme with the revolutionary energies or challenging the status quo. So reeling it in, making it constructive, building it, right, makes this a fantastic full moon. All squares are extremely constructive times, okay? And especially when it's full moon related like this, especially when it's nodal life path related like this. And so I see this as a beautiful step in the right direction for all of us collectively to further these structures, further this long-term energy, but in a way that's still listening to our freedom, listening to change, listening to the excitement through healthy action and assertiveness. And by the way, this is really part of this Saturn squaring Uranus that really went exact, last year. Okay, it was the strongest last year. And so last year was really this implementation of how we can build structures yet have more freedom in our life. Okay, and that's been getting integrated, but of course, with full moons and other aspects like this, it's still within orb, still in those squares, okay, when they're getting activated by the fast movers as they are now. So great to, maybe look at last year in terms of what we're building and still being patient with, but yet building towards more freedom and change, right? It's going to be another nice step in the right direction for that, okay? So that's how I'd classify the full moon. Again, balancing it with Leo. So this part of, in this case, Capricorn is opposite the early part of Leo, where the sun has recently shifted. So Monday of this week, the sun started to enter Leo. So it's been good to really see that the next, over month, about the next month plus is going to be very good for cultivating our self-expression. And there'll likely be themes around self-expression this time of the year for all of us collectively. And so it's great to be focusing on what we love, expressing ourselves, what we're passionate about, our playful side, our creative side. But as you can see, opposite is the more disciplined, super ego, parent, discipline thing. And so this is the balance. All full moons are about incorporating balance. And so how can we express ourselves, have fun, be playful, yet constructive, patient, disciplined, responsible, right? In this way, it's a great way of working with this part of the sky. Okay, and there's also a minor sextile up to Chiron, really nothing major, but just know that the healing energies can be a bit supportive, okay, if you are doing any healing in your life. A lot of these outer planets are retrograde right now, so a little bit of a pause perhaps with some of this deeper stuff at the moment. But nonetheless, if there is anything you are intending, sextiles are openings, and so it is a great opening to do healing, whether it's spiritual or physical, emotional, mental, whatever it might be. Know that there is a bit of support for that with Chiron trining the sun, but sextiling this full moon. Chiron the healer, comet. Okay, but most importantly, yes, halfway point of the lunar cycle, last 2 weeks, middle point of the eclipse cycle, right, shifts and changes along our life path in the context of patience, responsibility, thinking long term, incorporating that into our life, making shifts and changes to further develop that, while still listening to the side that wants to have freedom and change and spontaneity and excitement, and has needs and independence and assertiveness, incorporating that constructively, and balancing all this more grounding energy that we can be developing with still playfulness, fun, creative self-expression, which is the sun in Leo. Okay? So everyone have a fantastic full moon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, there's a link down below to sign up. It is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube, and extra content and discounts and things like this that aren't released on YouTube. So do check that out and sign up if you haven't yet. But have a great week, everyone. Thank you again. Have a great full moon, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.